So, good morning, one and all present here. I, Sandeep Tuli, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Engineering, Purnima Institute of Engineering and Technology, Jaipur, welcomes you all in the first session on the day 2 of this first short-term training program under AICTE AQIS on image processing and its application. First of all, I would like to thanks to all of you for attending and participating in the sessions of day 1. We are maintaining the attendance of each session, which will be shared you at the end of the SCTP. So now we should start the today's session. For this session, we have with us Miss Shubhra Dalakoti. Good morning, ma'am. I welcome you.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah.
Ms. Shubhra Dalagoti has completed her Bachelor of Technology from Birla Institute of Applied Sciences, Bhimtal, Uttarakhand, in Electronics and Communication Engineering. Currently, she is working as a data scientist with American Express. She is also she is also machine learning certified professional with over 7 years of teaching proficiency in the field of machine learning, business intelligence, data modeling, analysis, ETL development, and reporting. She has also conducted successful trainings for freelancing and others to help professionals upgrade their skill sets. Now I am welcoming you, ma'am, and I would like to hand over to you.
Okay. Thank you, sir, and welcome, everyone. So, as Mr. Sandeep pointed out, so I'm working as a data scientist with American Express, and I have nearly 7 years of experience. And my proficiency lies in the domain of business intelligence, machine learning, and I've also, trained various students and employees from different organizations in the field of business intelligence, ETL, Informatica, to help them groom for the industry. So yes, and so today I'll be taking you through the image processing basics using Python. And yes, so let me start and I'll present my okay. So I will be using Kaggle notebooks for this purpose. So Kaggle is a platform, where you actually get to enhance your learning, where you have these competitions every day, every now and then, and you actually get to learn. You can basically engage using Python, R, and other languages as well. So if you don't have a Python installed in your local system, so not to worry, you can use this Kaggle platform to enhance your learning because it has inbuilt libraries, and it will provide you a platform to enhance your learning. So I'm using Kaggle notebooks, Kaggle platform, wherein I am using Jupyter notebooks to present Python. So today, to begin with, I will be using OpenCV as a library, and this OpenCV, just to give a brief introduction, this was launched in 1999 from an Intel initiative. It was basically written in C++, and it's an open source library, and it has over 2,500 optimized algorithms. So this is all about OpenCV, and it's quick and easy to use. That's the main reason why people basically go for OpenCV. And so before beginning, other than that, we will be exploring various libraries first, and then we'll actually see, let me set the context first. So we will be exploring the libraries, other than OpenCV, what are the other libraries that we can use to manipulate an image. And second would be how to read an image, or if we have multiple images, how to read them, how to print the dimensions of an image, and how to convert an image to a grayscale image. And then next would be detecting the edges and drawing geometric shapes, resizing, cropping, and various other image transformations. So let's start. So the first thing we would be discussing is libraries. So there are, other than OpenCV, which is of course a very easy to use library, other than that, we have a Scikit image library. This Scikit module is basically used in the machine learning field. So there is a scikit-learn module. And for the image manipulation, we have a Scikit image module. So in order to use any library in Python, the very first prerequisite is you have to install it. So if it is not installed in your system, so what you need to do is you can simply use a pip command and then the library name, and then you can download it with administrative privileges. So once the library is installed in your environment, you can go ahead and import it. For example, in this scikit image, I am importing the library as from skimage import. I am using whatever functions, whichever module I want to use. I want to use the data module or the filter module, and so on. So this is the basic syntax to import any library. And the other would be a NumPy. So NumPy is a library that is majorly used whenever we do basic manipulations with image. So NumPy basically stands on array. So this is it's very important that we just have an idea of what a NumPy is. So it's nothing but an array, and an image is basically represented in an array format. So NumPy is basically for array manipulation. And a third would be SciPy. So SciPy is another Python library which is used for scientific manipulation purposes, basically in the field of machine learning and data science. So this is, yes, another module. And particularly in image manipulation, we use scipy.ndimage, which provides n-dimensional NumPy arrays. So you can, other than OpenCV, you can use any of these modules. Scikit image, SciPy, PIL is another, which is below Python image library. It's also a free library for opening, manipulating image in different formats. And OpenCV is of course another, and then Mahotaz. This is also another library that we can use. So these are some of the libraries that we should have an idea, while manipulating the image. So the next thing would be the very basic thing on how to read an image. So basically, if you can see in the image that if you can see in this picture that this is an image, and we have an x-axis and a y-axis, and then we have some arrays. So image is nothing but a two-dimensional, signal. So which is basically represented by a mathematical function x and y, where we have this x coordinate and a y coordinate. And basically, to simplify it, we have a horizontal axis and a vertical axis. So this could be one axis and this could be the other axis. And the simplest format, the simplest value of an image at any point is known as a pixel. So this is the smallest element of an image. Of course, you all might be knowing these things. And the value of a pixel varies between 0 to 255. So this is a basic image. And now, how do we read this image in Python? So using the OpenCV module, now the very first thing is I will first import the library. That's a prerequisite. And to read an image, we have cv2.imread function. So this, whenever you are reading an image in Python, always use this cv2.imread. And to display an image, you can either use cv2, this as in the OpenCV module, the IMShrew module of OpenCV, or you can combine it with matplotlib to display your images. So here I will be using matplotlib to display the images. Now let's look at the format of the image. Now this is a variable. I have whatever output of whatever it will be the output of this particular function. I will be storing this in this variable. And now, as I already pointed out, cv2.imread is basically used to read an image. So I am reading an image, cv2.imread, and then my file name and the flags, corresponding flags. Now, these flags are basically for the kind of image that I want to use. For example, if I want to read my image as a colored image, so I will use this flag, imread color. So these are predefined colors. So these are predefined flags in the library. So we will have to use them as is. And if I want to read an image in a grayscale mode, so I can use imread_grayscale. And then this method, this IMRead any color or IMRead any depth is basically for 16-bit images. So other than that, we have our images are generally in an 8-bit format. So this is basically whenever we have to read 16-bit color images, basically in the SLR cameras, which are capable of recording the images at a higher depth than 8-bit. So this was a basic format, and let's see how to do this basically. So as I already pointed out, the very first thing I'm doing is I am importing the OpenCV module. So I am using import CV2. And next is I am importing matplotlib. So what I'm doing is I am using the pyplot method of matplotlib library. So I am writing import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT. Now this as PLT, or I could have written similar thing here as well. This import CV2 . So import CV2 as CV, or I could have given it any other alias. So what I'm doing here is I am using, instead of using this name, this entire name every now and then in my code, I have created an alias PLT. So instead of referring this matplotlib.pyplot, this bigger name, I will use this smaller name now. So which is an alias to the original name. So what now next is, other than importing the libraries, I'm creating a variable called image. You can create any variable, that's your choice, XYZ, but it's good to give it a meaningful name. So I've created a variable called image, and as I already pointed out, I'm using cv2.imread and then the path of your image, where your image lies. So my image basically is a butterfly.jpg, and it lies in this path, Kaggle input OpenCV sample data. So this is the path of my image, and the path, and then your the file name. So if you want to simplify this, you could have the other method, to not to mention the path and to directly use an images. You can use an import OS, operating system module, OS module, and then you can use the similar module like we do in Windows or Unix elsewhere. Whenever we have to change a directory, we use a chdir. So we can use a similar functionality here as well. But for the sake of simplicity, I have used the entire path and then the file name. And here, this is the figure size. So this is the figure size, and then the plot, the subplot, and here this is the title of my image. And I am now to display the image. This is the title, that my image will be titled as original. Now to display the image, I am using plt.imshow. Either I could have, as I mentioned earlier, I could have either used cv2.imshow function to display an image from the OpenCV module, or I could have, or I am using, if I don't want to use this cv2.imshow, so I am using the matplotlib, this module, the PLT one, because I have already given this an alias as PLT. So what I'm doing is now, instead of referring to this matplotlib.pyplot, I am just using the alias PLT elsewhere. So this is the title of my image, and this is how I'm going to display the image. plt.imshow and the image, which is this variable. Now, if I go ahead and run this, I'll see that this butterfly image is displayed, the image of a butterfly. So this is how we display our basic image. So next would be, if I have, let's say, multiple images. Now, how do I display multiple images? So for that, this is the code here. Now, instead of going directly deep into the code, let me basically introduce you with some of the other modules. So as I already pointed out, NumPy module basically stands for the array manipulation. Whenever we have to do any kind of array manipulation in Python, we basically use NumPy module. And then this glob is basically for pattern searching. So this is useful. I've already written it here. So this is useful in a situation where your program needs to look out for a list of files in a file system. So this basically eliminates the manual intervention. You need not to manually search for the file and then write those long commands. Instead, you can use this glob module to look for a pattern and to search for a file, instead of scanning the entire directory. And I will be using a list here. So here, this is where I'm using a glob module. So the libraries that I'm using here is glob module, again a CV2 module, and a matplotlib module. Now what I'm doing is I'm creating a folders variable, and I am using this glob to search for a pattern in this directory. Input OpenCV, this directory. Next is I am creating a list. Now, what is a list? A list is basically, if I am in Python, we have basically different kinds of manipulation matrices. So a list is basically anything which is written in square brackets, and it can have any number of items and of different types. You can basically have integer, float, string, anything that is written in square brackets. So here I'm creating an empty list called as image names underscore list. The reason I'm creating an empty list here is I will first go to this path and I will search for the file name. So this is the path, and what I'm doing is I'm just looping in the folders. This is my folder. So I'm looping in my folder and I'm just searching for this file name, blender star.jpg. And I am appending the file name to this list. So I've also printed out this, image names.list, this list. So let's see what this contains. So this contains these many file names, along with the path and the file name. So I was looking for blender star.jpg. So this path contains these many files. Then this is written twice. So blender 2 and blender 1. So these are the file names. Now, up next, I am using another loop to read this list, to loop through this list now, image names underscore list. And then I am appending this image. ImRead module. I am using this ImRead module to read the image in a grayscale mode. Next, I am basically displaying multiple images. For that, I've again used a loop for I in range read underscore image. Now, read underscore image was nothing but this thing, the list of file names, and then the range of my subplots, and then im.show. So read underscore images I. So this read underscore images was nothing but an empty list which contained the file, the images, because I am using now this append. Just to simplify, this append method is basically used to append elements to a list. So that's why we have used append anywhere you can find in the code. So append method will be used to append the elements to a list. So because I have an empty list here, so I am appending the elements. Elements in this case are nothing but images. So I am using cv2.imread image, and then this the flag, which is in a grayscale mode here. So whatever will be the output of this function, so the output will be appended to this read underscore image list, because I've created a loop here. So this will loop through this list, the elements in this list. So those many number of elements or images will be appended in the read underscore images, and then the corresponding images will be displayed. So this is how we are displaying. So you can see that two images are displayed here, two different images. So this is how we display multiple images. Now every image in Python or elsewhere has a dimension. Now, if you want to look what are the dimensions of an image, dimensions as in what is the x-axis, y-axis, and if it's a colored image, so what's the channel of that image? So to print the dimensions, so basically they are referred as dimensions. So to print the dimensions in an image, we basically use image.shape. So OpenCV basically takes as height into a width ratio, and the output will be, if you just see here, what I'm doing is I am again creating an image variable, and I am reading the image, the home image, and now I am not displaying the image this time. Rather than that, I am just displaying the shape because I am interested in knowing the dimensions of my image, because these dimensions can be used later on for various manipulation purposes. For example, if I have to crop an image, I have to apply filters to my image, anything to rotate an image. So for these kind of manipulations, we require the dimensions of an image. Let's say if I have to calculate median, mean, and so on, so I would require the dimensionality of the image. So in Python OpenCV, not in OpenCV basically, this is the basic Python functionality. So this is dot shape. So image, because image was the variable, so I am using image dot shape. If my variable would have been x, so I would have written, so print is used to display. If you don't use print in Python 3, that's okay, the contents will still be displayed. So the image is the variable here. If I would have used x instead of image, so I could have displayed it x dot shape. So you have to remember this functionality, shape. So that shape will basically print the dimensions. So here if we can see that 384, 512 and 3. So these are the coordinates. So 3 basically refers to the channel. So this signifies that this is a colored image. Now, next is how do we convert to a grayscale image? Now, a grayscale image, so we have colored images, we have binary images, the black and white ones, and then we have grayscale images. So grayscale images are nothing but which have basically the shades of gray. So how do we convert it? One method would be to directly use with the imread function, to directly use a flag with the imread function. The flag for grayscale image would be imread underscore grayscale. So this would be one method. And to display it in matplotlib, you just have to use this CMap as gray, because the variable here is image. So I'm using plot.imshow. You just have to remember this part, plot.imshow. Because this is the part responsible to display the images. So plot.imshow image, the image, the content that I stored here, the output of this particular path, image, and then CMap equals to gray. So this part, cv2.imread grayscale flag, basically is responsible for setting a grayscale image flag. The alternative method could be to read an image and I'm storing it in a different variable this time, the source variable. So to read an image, I'm using this image this time. And the other method could be to use the convert color method from the OpenCV module. So instead of setting a flag this time, I'm simply using cv2.convertColor, CVT color, and then the variable. So cv2.color, and then the source image. So this time the source image is this source, and then cv2.color underscore bgr2 gray. So this will convert your image to a grayscale image. And then similar thing, plot.imshow gray and CMap equals to gray. And then here I am just displaying the shape. We can comment it out if we don't want the shape this time. So the plt.imshow is responsible to display the images. So now if you can see here, now the image has been converted to a grayscale image this time. And the shape, just notice the shape. there is no third parameter to this. Unlike the colored image that we had here, it had three variables, three parts, three parameters: the X part, Y part, and the channel part. So here because this is a grayscale image, so this will have only two parameters. So this is how we convert an image to a grayscale image. Or if we want to convert it into a HSV image or any other format, we just have to change the flag here or here and then display it using this plt.imshow. Now, for this part, to detect the edges of an image, so I am using the image that I used earlier, this butterfly image. Now, let's say if I want to see the edges inside this picture, so that I can use it in various other platforms like edge detection and other functionalities. So to just detect the edges in Python in a very simplistic format, how do we do that? So this is the original image, this butterfly image. And to detect the edges, we basically use this thing, this module, cv.canny. CV as in I have used an alias, so the canny method. So to detect the edges. So if we look at this code, what I'm doing, I am importing the CV2 module, and I am again using the matplotlib module and reading the butterfly image. Third part is converting this colored image to a grayscale image using the CVT color functionality. Or I could have, other than that, I could have simply set a flag in this I am reading functionality, as I pointed out here. I could have set a flag here, or used this to convert it to a grayscale image. So first I am converting this to a grayscale image. I am using a different variable this time, gray, and using this variable. And now to detect the edges, we just have to use cv2.canny method, C-A-N-N-Y, canny, and then the image, the grayscale image that we have, and then the dimension. If we look at the syntax of this canny method, it says that image, edges, how many edges we want to display, threshold 1, threshold 2, and then the aperture size. So I'm not going much deep into this because this will be utilized later on in the edge detection functionality. So just on a very basic level, to detect the edges in an image, we use the canny method, and I'm using 30 and 200 as a parameter, and just displaying it, plt.imshow and edged parameter this time, because edged parameter has the output of this canny method. And this is how the image gets displayed, the butterfly image, the edges of a butterfly. If we compare this with the original image, we can see that this is the original image, and this is the edge. These are the edges of.
Ma'am, I want to ask one question.
Okay.
Ma'am, which three parameters you have used in canny function? We have used only 3, so I just want to know which 3 parameters we have used in that function.
These 3. See, if we refer to this canny, the syntax of this canny, so this is the basic syntax, yes. CV2 module, and then this is the image, and the edges, threshold, and the threshold 1, the upper limit and the lower limit, and then the size of the aperture. So I have basically used the threshold here.
Okay. And threshold 1 and threshold 2 we are using.
Yes, the upper limit and the lower limit.
Edges. Edges. What about edges?
See, edges. If you want to limit your image to the number of edges, So you can utilize this parameter as well. So not all parameters are mandatory. So because I am just displaying it, yes, but then when
edge is again a numerical parameter, and how many
yes,
edges?
yes, yes,
How many edges were
yes,
required? We need to pass it if we require.
yes, yes, yes. So these all are, other than image, these all are
Numerical.
numerical parameters. All are numerical. Okay.
Okay.
Now moving next, how we will see here how to draw geometric shapes on an image. For example, I have an image, and I want to. You must have seen it in various platforms and in various websites and various images. You have an image and there is a rectangular box drawn on it. You have an image and you have a circle drawn on it, maybe a line or a text written on it. Now, how do we do that? So in Python, I'm again using the OpenCV module. So I will just take you through how to draw a line on an image, how to draw a rectangle, how to draw a circle, how to write a text. And yes, so to basically draw a line, we use a cv2.line method. To draw a rectangle, cv2.rectangle, and a cv2.circle for a circle. And to write a text, we always use put text method. So this will basically write a text on an image. Now, there are basic syntaxes for each and every thing. For example, for cv2.line, the syntax is this. The image name, what will be the start coordinates and end coordinates of an image. Where should my image start and end, where should my image start from and end to, and what should be the color of the image, so what should be the color of the line, and what should be the thickness of the line. So these start coordinates and end coordinates are the coordinates of the line, the starting and ending coordinates of the line, and the color and the line thickness. Similarly, for circle, we can have the image and the radius of the circle, and what should be the starting point. These and to write the text, we have image name, and then what should be the content, text starting point, what should be the font, what should be the size, text color, text thickness, line type, and so on. So the parameters of all this, if you are not aware about the parameters that are written inside the parameters that are passed inside these functions, circle, rectangle, any, just Google and go to the pydata.org module. So this basically, the pydata.org module will very well explain you about each and every parameter. Now, in this code, I'm again importing the module, the NumPy module and the OpenCV module, the Matplotlib module. I am again reading an image and storing it in the img variable. Now, this, always remember, whenever we have to comment out anything in Python, a single line comment is basically designated by this, the hash symbol. So this is nothing but a comment, a line that has been commented out for better readability. So here I am creating a line in the img variable, in the image. So now what I'm doing is, I am creating a line using a variable L1, and now as you already know, to create a line we use a cv2.line method. So I'm using this, and I'm using img.copy. Now this is this is a concept which is very important. So now, instead of using the original image, instead of distorting the original image, I am taking a copy of this image. So whenever you have to take a copy of an image, you can use this .copy method. So I'm not using img here because this image I will use in various other functionalities this time, in the rectangle method, in the circle method, in the put text. So I don't want to distort the original image this time. Instead, I am creating a copy every time. So to create a copy, you can use this img.copy method. Now, To draw line, cv2.line, img.copy, or you can use the original image, the variable here. So the copy of this image, and as I pointed out, starting coordinates and the ending coordinates, this one, start coordinates, end coordinates, color, and line thickness. So these are the starting coordinates, ending coordinates, this is the color, and this is the line thickness. So here I'm creating a rectangle. I'll take you through this code later on, but then let's see how this image looks like. If you see, this image is a blue line gets displayed here in this image. This is basically using the cv2.line method. Now this code basically this is a longer code. The reason is because I am creating line, rectangle, circle, and text all together in a single piece of code. So that's the reason this code is looking a bit longer. So for rectangle, I've created another. So if you're interested only in drawing a line, no need to use this entire code. Just comment this out, and you can simply use plt.subplot and plt.imshow and then this L1 variable. But just for the demonstration purposes, I'm creating a rectangle as well. So for that, I'm using cv2.rectangle and then copying the image, taking a copy of the image, and the starting coordinates, end coordinates, and the color of the image and thickness. That's the same thing. The only difference is instead of cv2.line, here I am using cv2.rectangle. Now for circle, because every circle has a radius, so for circle I am creating another variable L3 using cv2.circle method, and I am using img.copy, taking a copy of this image, and then again the coordinates, and then the radius and color, and then the thickness. Now to display a text in an image, I am using a put text functionality, and setting a font. You can set a font of your choice, and now cv2.putText image copy, and this is the text that I want to display, sample image, and then the coordinates of the text coordinates, the font, and thickness. Here if we can see this, image name, text content, starting coordinates, font to be used, font size, text color, text thickness, and line type. So I am doing the similar thing here. These are the starting coordinates, this 50-50, font, and then the thickness of the text. This is the font size, the font to be used, the font size, and then the color, and then apart from color, we have text thickness and line type. And now I have variables named as L1, which is the output of line, this line module. Now this will hold the output of the cv2.rectangle, this will hold the output of circle, and this will hold the output of put text. So which will write text named as sample image on this image called img. Now here I am again creating a list. As I already told you, anything that's written in a square bracket and is a list in Python that can have elements of different data types. So I'm creating a list called as L to store the contents of L1, L2, L2, L3, and L4 variables, so that I can easily loop through them and display. And since we have 4 variables, if I want to display the titles of each and every variable, for the sake of simplicity, so I am creating another list called as titles, and then just setting the heading. So I am just writing a text. Either you can write a text either in single inverted commas or in double inverted commas. So that's a text. So for L1, I'm using line. For L2, I'm using rectangle, RECT, and for L3, I'm using circle. For L4, I'm using a text. And then since I have a 4 variables, so I'm looping through, I'm creating an element to loop through the range of this list, which is 4. And I could have written it in this format as well for I in range of this length, this variable. But I already know that I have 4 variables, so I'm writing for I in range of 4, and then looping these subplots from 2 to 3 to I plus 1, so that the images are displayed automatically. Now instead of using now to display the images, I'm using again plt.imshow. Now this is L of I. So L of I is basically the index of this list. Now this I will contain the numerical value. This is basically the range starting from 0 and 0, 1, 2, 3. So this plot dot, now whenever this loop is executed, the plot.imshow will display the images according to the loop. So for 0th index, so the first would be 0. So plt.imshow list this L, which is the output of all these functionalities, a rectangle line. So L of 0. So what is the element located at the 0th index of the list? This is basically that. So this is the value of the I for every iteration. So I am iterating through the range of this list. So it will be 0, 1, 2, and 3. So the value of this image at the 0th iteration would be line, because the indexes in Python, they start from 0, 1 to 0 and till n minus 1 and that. So this L of I would be L of 0, which is the element at the 0th position is L1. The element at first position is L2. Second position is this. Third position is this. Because I have a length of 4 elements, so my list would start from 0 to n minus 1. So 0, 1, 2, and 3. So the element at third position would be L4. And then I'm displaying them. These are just some additional methods. We can eliminate them as well. So now if we can see that here in this, a line has been drawn, here a rectangle has been drawn, and a circle has been drawn, and then a text has been written, sample image. So this is how we draw geometric shapes in an image. Now, next would be how do we resize an image? Many times we come across scenarios where, we either want to reduce the size of an image to whatever, dimensions we want. Either we want to reduce it to half, to, we want to double it maybe for our own purposes. So for that context, we have resizing in picture. So here in this section, we will see how to resize an image. Now, to resize an image in Python in the OpenJV module, we have cv2.resize method, which actually does as I've already written it here. So cv2.resize actually does the main work of changing the size. Okay, so whenever you have to change an image, you have to resize an image, just use cv2.resize and then the parameters. So the parameters are, the image itself and the desize, the dimensions basically, and then the scales. So not every parameter is required, but then some parameters are important, which of course are image, and then the desize. What should be the dimension? What should be the scale, and what should be the dimensions to which an image should be resized. So these parameters are important. So now I've written it here. Resizing by default does not change the height and width of the image. So basically the resizing of an image depends on the aspect ratio as well. There are various methods to resize an image. Either you can you can resize it along x-axis, or you can resize it along y-axis, or you can resize it by preserving the aspect ratio, the ratio of width to height, the aspect ratio. So the aspect ratio can be preserved or not, that's on the requirement. Okay. Now, and then we have interpolation method. So interpolation is the other parameter. Now, the point in question is, so why do we actually need images? Why do we need interpolation? We need basically interpolate. We need the need to interpolate comes into picture whenever we have to resize an image. You want to zoom in the images. You want a bigger image, or maybe you want a good quality images, or you want to see the images to a full screen mode, and then let's say some pixel of an image is missing, and then you want to repair an image. So for that point in time, we need to interpolate it. We can interpolate the image if let's say a pixel is missing. So we can interpolate it to repair an image. We can interpolate it to the nearest neighbor. We can interpolate it using a linear interpolation. So these are some of the interpolation methods. Now, how do we actually resize an image? That's the main point here. So we can resize an image in three ways. We can either preserve the aspect ratio. Aspect ratio, as I already told you, is the ratio of image width to height. The ratio of width to height of an image is the aspect ratio. So many a times we come across a situation where we want to preserve the aspect ratio. So in those situations, we will have to increase or decrease the height of an image simultaneously. Second is, either we can scale the image only along the horizontal axis, only along a particular axis, x-axis or y-axis, meaning you can change the width or you can keep the height same. Changing, keeping any parameter from width or height constant, and then changing other parameter. So either you can change the width, keeping the height same, or you can keep the width constant or keep the height same. So these are the three methods. So here I have an image. I am scaling it to 50%. What I'm doing is just imported the module and created a variable to read an image. Again, created a subplot, title. So up till now, till this part of the code, I am just displaying my original image. I'm not resizing it. Till this part, the PLT I am show image section till here. If we see here, till PLT dot I am show image, this part, this is nothing but, this code is nothing but this part, the code that's highlighted in blue. So not this one, the code that's highlighted in blue. So this code is doing nothing but displaying the original image itself. Now I will be scaling it to 50%. So what I'm doing is I am just defining a scale percent 50 and CV2.resize. Now this, as we have seen here, this CV2.resize takes an image and the size, the D size, the dimensions of height and width, and then the interpolation. So here what I'm doing is I am creating a variable called output using CV2, as in this module, CV2 module dot resize, and I'm using the image, the original image, and then the dimension to which it should be rescaled. Now, how do I define this D size? This has been defined here. This is the width and height. Now, this width and height, as we already saw in the earlier sections, the image dot shape, this image dot shape basically displays the shape of an image. Now, since this is a grayscale image, so there will be only two parameters to it, like this. Let me scroll a bit up here. So this will be the output of the shape method. So 512 and 512. So this will be the width and height. So width, because this is a grayscale image, So height and width are same, 512 and 512 in this image. Now, so this code basically separates the height and width of the image. So I've created a width variable, which is basically, taking the first index of the image and then multiplying it by the scale percent to store a width, to store the output of width. Now what is this img.shape1? Shape1 is, so remember, anything that we write in square brackets, shape 1, 0, 2, they are indexes. So if this is the shape of an image, this one, if this is the shape of an image, so as I already told you, so the starting index would be 0 and ending would be 1 because I have two elements. So shape 0 would be 512, shape 1 would be 512. So if this would have been 0 and 512, so shape 0 would have been 0, shape 1 would have been 512. So that's what I am doing in this particular code, this part, just separating the width and height of an image. And then d size is nothing but the output of this width and height. So I'm using a scale percent, just multiplying this image, this 512 by the scale percent. That would be the new height, the new width. So this part is calculating the new width and height of the image, and then passing this new width and height to the resize method. Now this would be image, and then the d size. D size is this, the new width and height, and then the plot, and then I'm plotting it, giving it a title, resized. Now, if I want to resize that under part, so this part is finished till here to resize an image. Now, if I'm resizing it to 50%. Now, if I want to resize it to 3/4 of the original image, I'm using these parameters. Now, if I want to, let's say, rest is same. All you need to remember is the cv2.resize method basically is responsible to resize an image. Now, to double an image, if you want to resize an image to the double size, so how do you do that? cv2.resize, I'm passing these parameters fx and fy to 2. So this will double the size of an image. And again, creating subplots and giving them titles, resize double, size, 3/4, resize. These are the titles of the image. And then using plot.imshow for each and every variable. So this time, for the sake of simplicity, I am not creating loops to display the images. So I am simply creating separate variables and then displaying them. For example, here, plot.imshow output, and then in this subplot, the variable is plot.imshow, and here in this subplot, I'm using this imshow. So these are different subplots. So as you see, this is the original image. This is the resized image. If you just notice the scale of these images, this has been resized to 50% because the original scale was 400. Now this scale has been shifted to from 0 to 200. Earlier it was from 0 to 400. This is on that scale. Now resized to double. So this is almost, if you notice the scale here, this has resized on a double scale. This is a resized double image. Now resized to 3/4. This was this. Just pass different parameters, and your image would be resized using this cv2.resize methodology. Now we'll explore some more resizing, some more functionality from resizing, where I am just creating the image to, this is the original image, I'm reducing it to half, and then I am using different interpolations here. So again, cv2.resize image, and then I am basically passing these parameters. just I'm reducing the image to half. And again, I'm creating a bigger image by passing some parameters, and then interpolation. And here, this is how my image would be resized. Now, the very interesting thing in resizing is if you want to resize horizontally or you want to resize vertically, how can we actually do that? Because up till now we were, reducing the width and height simultaneously. If you notice here, I was calculating the size depending on the scale percent. So this was to preserve the aspect ratio, this particular thing. Now, if you want to resize on a particular axis, I want to resize it horizontally. How can I do that? Or if I want to resize it vertically along x-axis or along y-axis, keeping any one of the parameter unchanged. So that's also simple. What we need to do is we just have to keep any one parameter of our interest as constant. So this particular thing is basically reading the image. And I am just, manually setting the new width to 300. And the D size, the size of the new image, I'm utilizing this new width 300. And then I'm keeping the height constant. If you notice here, I'm not multiplying or dividing my original image at the shape 0 of the image, the height of an image, width and height ratio. I'm not changing the height. I'm not changing a parameter, the element at the 0th index. I'm keeping it as is, and then I'm utilizing this new width. So D size, new width, and then the shape of the image. And then I will pass this D size to the resize parameter. So this will be resized horizontally. And this will be the output. And then if you want to resize it vertically, so you just have to do vice versa. Keep one parameter constant and, this one. So new height, I'm setting new height to 200 and shape 1, utilizing the shape 1. And here I'm changing the height, keeping the width constant. So this will be shape 1. I'm not changing the value of the image at first index. I'm just changing this height and passing this D size to the image. So these and this, the horizontal resizing and the vertical resizing is similar. We just are changing we are just changing one of the parameters. So I'm giving it a title called vertically and then displaying the output. So this is how my image would be resized horizontally and vertically. So this is how resizing works. So we have to remember for resizing, we use resize method and then the corresponding parameters. So next would be, how do we crop an image? So before going to cropping an image, we just have to remember, anything before we start learning Python, we just have to be aware on how to use the indexes. There is a very important functionality in Python or in any other language. So, which is slicing and dicing. How do you perform slice and dice? If I'm interested in picking out only few elements from a list, how can I do that? If I want to append certain elements to a list, if I want to enlarge my list, if I want to reduce my list, how can I do that? So that's basically slicing and dicing in a list. So let's see, to basically begin with cropping, I'll just take you through a brief of slicing and dicing, not details, just a brief. So let's say we have a list which contains elements called 1, 2, 3 up till 9. And let's say if I want the elements from elements, if I am writing this code, print A3:8. So I want the elements from this position till this position. So if I already told you that the indexes will start from 0th position, 0, 1, 2, and 3. So the element at the 3rd position would be 4, which is this 4, and 5, 6, 7, and 8. So this would be the output of this list. So this is just taking out a section from this list. So whenever we begin with any kind of coding or any kind of image manipulation, you just have to groom the basics on this image list slicing and dicing, on how to if you are interested in pulling out any element from a list. If, for example, we are you might have seen that we are just manipulating the shape variable using the variable dot shape, and then if I want to pull out the first element from the shape variable from the shape method, I'm using 0th index. If I want to pull out any other, the second element, I'm using shape 1. So this is basically just a slicing and dicing of the variable. So you just have to clear your basics on that if you're not aware. Now, so image cropping basically resides on the concept of just slicing an image. So if you have an image, let's say, let's imagine that you have an image and you want to crop it. For example, if I have this image, for example, and I want to crop it. So cropping an image is nothing but pulling out certain sections from that image, which is, in layman terms, this is nothing but a slicing of an image. So this is, if I am printing out A3:8, the elements of this list from 3rd till 8th position. So what I will do is I'll just I am performing a slicing of this. So this is the basic behind the image cropping as well. So there is no there is no particular method to crop an image. You just have to give the start coordinates and end coordinates while cropping an image. For example, in this section, I'm using the image method, the image variable. I'm reading an image and storing it in a format using convert BGR to RGB, convert color, and this is the original image. Up till here, the original image is displayed, and just taking out the contents of height and width using image.shape. And now this :2 is nothing but this will give me both the height and width. This :2 is analogous to image.shape. If you write it in this manner, image.shape, the output of just this one. So if I write image.shape or your variable.shape, or you write this :2, because I have two elements inside this, so both are same. As I told you, to crop an image, we just have to specify the starting position and the ending position of the corresponding axes. Now, I'm taking the height and width from image.shape, and so let's start now. Here I will get the starting pixel. So let's get the starting pixel coordinate, and then the ending pixel, the start point and end point. From where do I want to crop till where do I want to crop, the start and end point. Now, the start row and start column, as in the height and width. What should be the height and width? The starting height and width. So here I'm just multiplying this with 0.45, both height and width. And similarly for ending coordinates, I am utilizing the same thing. This time I'm just changing the value from 0.45 to 0.75. just doing this, and then to crop an image, you just have to use this. Just store it in a variable, and image was the original image that I used, this one, and the starting row and the starting column, the start row and end row, and start column and end column for the corresponding axes. Now, if you see here, this is an image. This is the original image. Now I have provided the start and end coordinates. So basis the start and end coordinates, the image has been cropped. So basis this parameter. So this particular functionality, which is slicing or indexing, this is responsible to crop an image. Other than that, there is no inbuilt methodology to crop an image, unlike we have in resizing, we have in rotation elsewhere. So in this cropping, we don't have any inbuilt methodology. We just have to use this indexing method. We just have to remember the starting coordinates of the row and the ending coordinates, and similarly for columns. So this is how an image is cropped. Now, if I want to perform an image rotation, now let's say if I want to rotate an image, so the very important thing in image rotation is to what degree, to what angle do I want to rotate my image, and the other important factor could be the scaling factor. Now, while rotation, do we want to maintain the original scale of an image, or we want to scale up or scale down the image? So that's also an important point while rotating an image. Now, the parameter called the method called get rotation matrix 2D is responsible for image rotation in CV2. So the steps will be, you will open the image using IM read method, and while rotating, similarly you'll get the height and width of the image, and you will get the rotation matrix using CV2.rotation matrix and apply this to a function. So the first argument in computing an image, if we see here, I'll show you an image. This is the original image, and this is a bit rotated image. This is, if you see that, and the image is being rotated. If you see this, if you notice the corners of the image, the image is being rotated here. If you notice these corners. So I have rotated here, I have rotated this image across all the degrees from 15 degree to 360 degree. If you see. So this is the image rotation. So to rotate an image, we have to use get rotation matrix. The first argument, as written here, the first argument is the center of the image. And if you want to rotate image around any arbitrary point, so you would give that point rather than the center of the image. Second argument is the rotation angle. Do you want to rotate your image by 90 degrees, or do you want to rotate it by 360 degrees, 15 degrees, the degree, And the third argument would be the scaling factor. If we wanted to halve the size of the image, we could have used 0.5 as the scaling factor. If you want to double the size of the image, if you want to rotate it to double the size, so it would be 2.0 now. And the very important thing is, let's look at the code first. So again, imported all the necessary libraries, reading the image using IMRead method, and converting the image to the color, and just displaying the original image here. No transformation, nothing, just changing the color. Now, second is, as we did in cropping as well, so just taking the height and width of the image, and I am rotating it across center. So I'm computing the center of my image. So if my image is 512 and 512, so height and width would be 512 consecutively. So center is, I'm dividing the width by 2 and height by 2, and I will be rotating it by, let's see. So what I'm doing is this, in this code, I am rotating it from 90 degrees to 360 degrees. So, but then, the image shown here is from 15 degrees to 360 degrees, because I made a change to this code later on. So you can, the basic functionality lies here. I'm creating an NumPy array to arrange these elements from, this 90 degree, 360 degree. And then I am utilizing to rotate the image. The main functionality lies behind this get rotation matrix 2D. The sector, angle, and what should be the scaling factor. So the center is, I have computed here, the center of the image. Angle, I'm getting the angle from here. But then if you don't want to overcomplicate the code, no need to loop through this, because I just wanted to show you the rotation across different angles. So that's the purpose I've written this loop. So if you want to just learn or just are curious on how to see the how an image is rotated, just specify the angle here. Or you can create another variable for angle and then specify the angle 90, 180, whatever. So you can eliminate this part. So I've written this because I wanted to show the image rotation across various angles. So that's the reason. And I have, and then once.
So, so this image rotation is a broader topic. So I would want to explain this in detail in the next lecture as well. So I think this was enough to just demonstrate on how to rotate an image, because there is more to it, to create an affine matrix and then to display the image. So we just have to be aware about this methodology called as get rotation matrix 2D, which is responsible for image rotation, and then the center, and then the angle of an image. So, and then we pass it to an affine matrix, and then the corresponding images rotated across various angles. This is how our images getting rotated across various angles. So in the upcoming lecture, we will basically discuss on how to create, how to apply filters on an image, how to shift an image, some basics of image segmentation. If you want to basically detect an eye inside a picture, if you want to detect a face and then you want to blur it, you want to create a rectangle, or you want to highlight that, how do we do that? So we will be covering those topics in the upcoming lecture. So let me know if I'll stop for now. So let me know if you have any questions. So else we can conclude this today.
Ma'am, one Ankur Bishwas has written something in chat window, and he wants to ask about whether we are able to use this CV2 for medical image processing or not.
Yes, we can do that. These days, apart from CV2, you have various numerous libraries that you can use for medical image processing or any advanced image processing. For example, you have very good module from Scikit, you have from SciPy, you have this module from Pillow. But then apart from CV2, you have various other modules as well. Yes. I will try to demonstrate it, but then, just to give you a basic, to take an image from a webcam, we used a video capture methodology. So I will try, if I have the permissions in my system. I'll definitely try to do that.
So in the next session, if possible, we can have a small.
If possible.
Yes.
Yes. So in the next section, session, I will definitely, if not this, but then I will definitely take you through the face detection mechanism. How to detect a face, how to detect the eye, how to blur it, the basic face detection methodology. sklearn, and then sklearn is where, of course, and then these days we are actually combining them with convolution neural networks and other methodologies from deep learning as well. So the scikit module from Python is basically for the machine learning purposes. Whenever we are building any code in Python, we basically use the scikit module for that purpose. So for a starting point, OpenCV is better. So how to make a data set of the images? You just have to train your images. For machine learning, basically lies on training and testing data sets. So you have to take a data set of, you have to create take a list of the images and then segregate them into training and testing data sets. Yeah. So if you are interested in learning Python more, or if you want to explore on Matplotlib or Tableau or any other functionality, so you can subscribe. I will send you the link of my YouTube channel. You can very well go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel, of course, if you wish to. So I'll give you the link at the end of the lecture tomorrow. All the data sets, if you want to get the data sets, you can very well get it from Kaggle as well. So I am utilizing Kaggle for my for this demonstration. I've just created my kernel and then created the codes for your to demonstrate it to you. So if you want to get the data, you just have to go to the data section and then check whatever the open data sets are. For example, if you can have it for medical imaging, I guess it's your. Just search for the data sets. So Kaggle is a very nice platform. See this. This is a competition. If you want to go to the data sets. So yes. So, Pillow was much advanced, but then if I'm not wrong, but then I think that they have stopped. They have stopped it as in the newer versions. I don't know if there are various advancements to Pillow now. I think they have stopped the releases, so I will have to check it. But then for an elementary level or CV2 is much better. To start with, CV2 is better. Of course, Pillow is advanced, but then CV2 is also better. So I think we can conclude it for today.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma'am, for this very informative hands-on session on Kaggle. I think that this session will definitely be useful for the participants, as most of them have learned about this new tool. So thanks to you, ma'am. Now we are having a break of 15 minutes, and we will reconnect at 11:45 a.m. for the second session of this STTP, which is again a hands-on session by Mr. Ashutosh Tiwari. So again, I request you to all rejoin at 11:45 a.m. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, guys.